Inspector David Kael woke to the sound of a single perfect note. C-sharp. Sustained. Haunting. He bolted upright in bed, heart hammering, sheets drenched with sweat. The note wasn't real, just an echo from the crime scene he'd worked 16 hours ago. The fourth victim of the Chord Killer, a music teacher named Lisa Hartman, found in her apartment with a small electronic device beside her body, playing that one pure note on an endless loop. 4 victims in 6 weeks, 4 perfect notes, 4 bodies arranged with geometric precision. And 4 times, the killer had vanished like smoke, leaving no prints, no DNA, no witnesses, just the music and the dead. Kael checked his phone. 3:47 a.m. 3 hours of sleep, if you could call the nightmare sleep. He'd been running on fumes for weeks, the insomnia gnawing at him like a living thing. His doctor had warned him about the fugue states, stress-induced episodes where he'd lose time, sometimes hours, functioning on autopilot, while his conscious mind went somewhere else. "You need rest, David," Dr. Morris had said. "Your brain is trying to shut down whether you want it to or not." But Kael couldn't rest, not with the Chord Killer still out there, composing his symphony of death. He stumbled to the bathroom, splashed water on his face, and caught his reflection in the mirror. When had he gotten so old? Gray threaded through his dark hair, deep lines carved around his eyes. 42 going on 60. His phone buzzed. A text from his partner, Detective Sarah Chen. Another one, downtown, Lexington and 5th. Kael's stomach dropped. 5 victims now. He dressed quickly, grabbed his badge and gun, and drove through the pre-dawn darkness to the crime scene. The address was a high-rise apartment building, the kind that cost more per month than Kael made in 6. Patrol units had already cordoned off the area, their lights painting the street in alternating red and blue. Sarah met him at the entrance, her face grim. 19th floor, male victim, late 30s. Same MO, single note playing on a device. This time it's an F. Or so they'd thought. The apartment was tastefully furnished, expensive art on the walls. The victim lay in the center of the living room, positioned with the same geometric precision as the others. Arms at precise angles, legs straight, head tilted exactly 15 degrees to the left. The electronic device sat on his chest, a small speaker no bigger than a deck of cards, emitting that single, sustained F note. "Victim is Marcus Webb," Sarah said, reading from her tablet. "Investment banker. Lived alone. Building security shows no unauthorized entry between midnight and 6 a.m., which is our presumed window. Killer had to have gotten in somehow." Kael knelt beside the body, studying the victim's face. Peaceful, almost serene. No signs of struggle. The Chord Killer's victims never fought back. That was one of the mysteries. How did the killer subdue them without force? Toxicology reports showed nothing. No drugs, no poisons. It was as if the victims simply agreed to die. "Inspector," one of the crime scene techs approached. "We found something strange. There's a journal on the kitchen counter. Pages look recent." Kael stood, his knees protesting. The lack of sleep was catching up to him. He made his way to the kitchen, where an evidence bag held a small leather journal. Through the plastic, he could see handwriting. His breath caught. The handwriting was his. That's impossible," he whispered. Sarah looked over his shoulder. "What's wrong?" Kael took the evidence bag with shaking hands. The page visible through the plastic was dated today, time-stamped 2:17 a.m., less than 2 hours ago, and it read, "Victim 5, Marcus Webb, chosen for his frequency. F natural, 349.23 Hz. The pattern emerges, C sharp E G sharp BF. Not melody, not harmony, resonance. Each victim is a tuning fork for what comes next. The killer isn't composing, he's calibrating. Look for the focal point. Look for the silent room. The handwriting was unmistakably Kael's. The same slant, the same pressure, the same way he crossed his T's. But he had no memory of writing this. No memory of being here before the call came in. David? Sarah's voice was distant, concerned. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. He couldn't speak, couldn't explain that he was holding evidence in his own handwriting from a crime scene he'd supposedly never visited until 10 minutes ago. I need to check something, he managed. I'll be right back. He walked to the apartment's entrance, examining the door frame. No signs of forced entry, just as Sarah had said. Building security would have footage. He needed to see it. 20 minutes later, Kael sat in the building's security office, watching recorded footage from the 19th floor hallway. His coffee had gone cold in his hand. At 2:03 a.m., the elevator opened. A figure stepped out, wearing Kael's jacket, Kael's build, moving with Kael's particular gait. The figure approached Marcus Webb's apartment, produced a keycard, and entered. The timestamp matched 2:07 a.m. At 2:31 a.m., the figure emerged, walked back to the elevator, and descended. It was him. He'd been here. His body had been here, even if his mind had no memory of it. What the hell is happening to me? Kael whispered. He left the security office without explaining, ignoring the guard's questions. Back in his car, he pulled out his personal journal, the one he kept for case notes, observations, the things that didn't go into official reports. He flipped through the pages, looking for gaps, inconsistencies. There, 3 pages in his handwriting that he didn't remember writing. The first was dated the night of the second murder. Victim 2, Elizabeth Moore. E natural, 329.63 Hz. The killer visits them first, plays the note for them. They listen, they understand, then they accept. This is consensual in ways the law doesn't comprehend. Look for the connection. Look for the frequency. The second page was from the night of the third murder. Victim 3, Robert Chen. G sharp 415.30 Hz. He's building something. Each victim is a component. Each note is a coordinate in acoustic space. The mathematics are elegant. The pattern is beautiful. I almost understand it. Almost see what he sees. Check the resonance points in the city. Map the locations. And now this third page from tonight. 3 entries in his handwriting, describing insights he never consciously formed, observations from crime scenes he didn't remember visiting. Kael's hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the journal. He was either being gaslit on a massive scale, or he was experiencing something far more terrifying. His own mind splitting apart, one half solving crimes, while the other half slept. The fugue states. Dr. Morris had warned him, but this was more than lost time. This was expertise, analysis, deductions that seemed to come from someone who understood the killer's mind intimately. Someone who could visit crime scenes in the middle of the night, examine evidence, and leave without being seen by anyone except security cameras. His phone rang. Sarah. David, where are you? We need to coordinate with the task force. Cross had murdered 12 people before Kael connected the pattern. Each victim was someone who'd wronged Cross in small ways, slights and insults that festered in his brilliant, twisted mind. The trial had been sensational. Cross had defended himself, turning the courtroom into a lecture hall, explaining his reasoning with such cold logic that 3 jurors had to be replaced for psychological distress. "You taught me everything, David," Cross had said during sentencing. "Pattern recognition, the art of seeing what others miss. And now you've seen me. I suppose I should be proud." Kael hadn't visited Cross in 8 years, hadn't wanted to give him the satisfaction. But now he had no choice. The hospital was a grim concrete structure surrounded by razor wire and guard towers. Kael showed his badge, went through 3 security checkpoints, and finally sat in a small visiting room with reinforced glass between him and Cross. The man who'd once been his mentor looked older, thinner, but his eyes still held that unsettling intelligence. Cross smiled when he saw Kael. "David, 8 years. I was beginning to think you'd forgotten about me. I need to ask you about the Chord Killer." Cross's smile widened. "Ah, yes. Beautiful work, isn't it? Such elegant simplicity. Each note perfect, each body positioned with mathematical precision. I've been following the case in the news. Quite fascinating. How do you know about it?" "I read, David. They allow us newspapers here. And I watch people. The guards talk. Information flows, even in a place like this." Cross leaned forward. "But you didn't come here for speculation. You came because something's wrong, something you can't explain." Kael's jaw tightened. "I'm finding notes, in my handwriting, about the crime scenes. Notes I don't remember writing." Cross's expression shifted, something predatory flickering behind his eyes. "The fugue states. You're still having them. How do you know about that?" "I know everything about you, David. I taught you to be observant, but I also taught you to push past your limits. The insomnia, the stress, the way you work until your mind fractures. I saw those patterns forming years ago. I wondered when they'd finally manifest. Are you behind the Chord Killer? Are you somehow coordinating this from in here?" Cross laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Behind it? No, David. I'm merely adjacent to it. The real question isn't whether I'm involved. The real question is whether you are." Kael stood abruptly. "I would never." "Sit down." Cross's voice was sharp, commanding. Despite himself, Kael sat. "You're not the killer, but you have been helping him. Your other self, the one that wakes up when your conscious mind shuts down. That self has been solving these murders in real time, visiting the—" "That's impossible." "Is it? You're here, aren't you? Asking me questions because you know something is deeply wrong." Cross tapped the glass between them. "During your fugue states, your subconscious takes over. It's your mind's way of protecting itself from total collapse. And that subconscious mind, the one I helped train 15 years ago, is brilliant. It sees patterns instantly. It solves puzzles, while your conscious self is still trying to understand the pieces. So I've been visiting crime scenes in my sleep, writing analysis in my own journal. Not sleep. Fugue. There's a difference. You're awake, functional, just absent. Your body operates on pure instinct and training. And because I trained you, you're very good at it." Kael's voice dropped to a whisper. "How are you communicating with me? How do you know about the notes I find?" Cross's smile returned. "Because you visit me, David, during your fugue states. You come here, we talk, and then you leave, with no memory. Oh, you've been here 6 times in the past 6 weeks. Once for each murder, and once before it started." The room tilted. Kael gripped the table to steady himself. "Check the visitor logs," Cross continued. "You'll see. David Kael, visiting Dr. Julian Cross. Conversations lasting 15 to 30 minutes. The guards have seen you. The cameras have recorded you. But you, the conscious you, remember none of it. Why? Why would I come here? Because your subconscious knows what I know. That the chord killer isn't random. The pattern isn't about music, it's about resonance frequencies. Each victim was chosen for their natural frequency, the pitch at which their body resonates. The killer is mapping acoustic coordinates across the city, building something, a focal point of resonant energy. Kael shook his head. That's insane. Is it? You've read the notes your other self left. Check the resonance points, map the locations, and what happens at the focal point. Cross leaned back, his expression distant. That depends on what the killer is trying to achieve. Resonance at the right frequency can shatter glass, collapse bridges, rupture organs. A perfect acoustic weapon, invisible and devastating. Or perhaps something more esoteric. An experiment in harmonics, a symphony of death that achieves transcendence. You're helping him. You're telling him how to do this. I'm helping you, David. During your visits, I answer the questions your subconscious asks. I provide the puzzle pieces your conscious mind can't see. We're working together, just like old times. You're just not aware of it. Kael stood again, this time backing toward the door. I'm done here. Wait. Cross's voice stopped him. There will be one more victim, the final note to complete the pattern. When you find that body, you'll also find a note in your handwriting. Read it carefully. It will tell you everything. ... You're lying. Am I? Check the visitor logs, David, then decide who's lying. Kael left the hospital in a daze. He sat in his car for 20 minutes before he could make his hands stop shaking enough to drive. The administrative office had confirmed it. 6 visits from Inspector David Kael over the past 6 weeks, each occurring in the early morning hours, each lasting about 20 minutes. The security footage showed him arriving, signing in, meeting with Cross, and leaving. He watched himself on the grainy monitors, noting his own body language, confident, purposeful, nothing like someone in a fugue state. He looked like he knew exactly what he was doing. Sarah called again. David, seriously, where are you? The task force is waiting. I'm coming. Have them pull up a map of all the victim locations. I think I know what the pattern is. Back at the precinct, Kael stood before a large map of the city, marking each murder site with a colored pin. Sarah and 3 other detectives watched as he connected the dots. 5 victims, 5 locations. Look at the geometric pattern they form. He drew lines between the pins, creating a shape. It's not random. Each point is equidistant from a central location. Sarah traced the pattern with her finger. They're arranged in a, what is that, a pentagon? Almost. 4 more points would complete a nonagon, a 9-sided figure. The killer needs 4 more victims. Jesus, one of the detectives muttered. And the center point, Kael marked it on the map, is here. The old acoustic research laboratory on Riverside. It's been abandoned for 20 years. Sarah was already pulling up information on her tablet. Acoustic Research Laboratory, built in 1962, decommissioned in 2004. It was a government facility studying sound waves, resonance frequencies, acoustic weapons research. That's where the killer is going. That's the focal point. Kael turned to the team. We need tactical units now. If I'm right, the killer will try to complete the pattern by positioning all 9 victims' resonance frequencies around this central point. Whatever he's trying to achieve happens there. What is he trying to achieve? Sarah asked. Kael thought about what Cross had said. Transcendence. A symphony of death. I don't know, but we're going to stop it. 3 hours later, Kael stood outside. the acoustic research laboratory with a SWAT team waiting for the breach. The building was a brutalist concrete structure, windowless and imposing. Sarah stood beside him, checking her weapon. David, about earlier? Are you okay? You've been acting strange. I'm fine. Just tired. When this is over, you need to take some time off. Real time. You look like hell. The SWAT commander signaled, ready. They moved in. The interior of the laboratory was a maze of corridors and chambers, all designed with acoustic properties, angled walls to disperse sound, padding to absorb it, chambers shaped to amplify specific frequencies. Kael's flashlight beam cut through the darkness as they cleared room after room. Then they found it. The central chamber was a perfect sphere, 20 meters in diameter, the walls lined with some kind of resonant material. In the center of the room stood a complex apparatus, speakers, computers, cables running to 9 positions around the chamber's circumference. 5 of those positions held the electronic devices from the crime scenes, still playing their single notes, and standing at the control panel was a figure in a dark jacket. "Police, hands up!" The figure turned slowly. Kael's breath caught. It was him. He was staring at himself. Same face, same build, same clothes he'd worn 3 days ago and couldn't remember taking off. His other self smiled, the expression foreign and familiar all at once. "Hello, David," his doppelganger said. "I've been waiting for you to catch up." Kael's gun was trained on his own face. What is this?" "This is integration. I'm the part of you that never sleeps, the part that solves the puzzles while you're too exhausted to think. I've been awake for 6 weeks, getting stronger each time you slip into fugue. Cross helped me understand what we could become together. You're not real. You're a delusion." "Am I? Look at the security footage. Look at the visitor logs. I'm as real as you are. More real, perhaps. I remember everything. You forget." Sarah and the tactical team spread out, weapons ready, but Kael held up a hand, stopping them. "I need to understand. Why the murders? Why the pattern?" His other self gestured to the apparatus. "Because you're tired, David. So tired of carrying all the guilt, all the failures, the cases you couldn't solve, the people you couldn't save. This," he indicated the chamber, "is a resonance experiment. 9 specific frequencies, arranged in geometric precision, all converging on this focal point. When activated simultaneously, the acoustic energy will create a standing wave of such intensity that it will effectively erase the conscious mind while leaving the subconscious intact. You're trying to kill me. I'm trying to free us. Your conscious self is the prison, David. All your doubt, your trauma, your exhaustion, that's the cage. Let it go. Let me take over permanently. Together with Cross's guidance, we can become something perfected, pure analytical thought, uncorrupted by emotion or fatigue." They were already dying. Terminal illnesses, all of them. I checked their medical records during my visits. They had months, maybe weeks. I offered them transcendence, a chance to be part of something larger, and they agreed. "You're lying, am I? Check the records. They'll confirm it." His other self moved closer. "I've left you notes, David. Breadcrumbs to lead you here. Because I need you to understand. I need you to choose this willingly. Integration only works if both parts consent." Kael's mind raced. The notes in his handwriting, the visits to Cross, the victims chosen for their resonance frequencies. It was all too elaborate, too perfect. But there was one thing his other self hadn't accounted for. "You made a mistake," Kael said quietly. "Oh, what's that?" "You said the victims had terminal illnesses. But Marcus Webb, victim 5. I checked his medical records myself. He was perfectly healthy." His doppelganger's smile faltered. Just for a second. "You're not my other self," Kael continued. "You're someone wearing a mask that looks like me. Someone who studied me well enough to mimic my mannerisms. Someone who had access to my journals, my apartment, my life." He lowered his gun. "You're Tyler Reed, Cross's former research assistant, the one who disappeared right after Cross was arrested." The doppelganger's smile vanished. His face seemed to shift, the illusion breaking. It was still his face. But the expression was different now, colder, angrier. "Very good, Inspector. Cross said you'd figure it out eventually. The fugue states are real. The notes I found are real. I did write them. But you've been staging this whole scenario to make me think I was splitting apart, breaking into my apartment, stealing pages from my journal, replacing them with your own analysis, making me doubt my sanity." "Close," Tyler said, "but not quite complete." Sarah stepped forward, her gun steady. "Doesn't matter. You're under arrest for 5 murders. 6, Tyler corrected. He pressed a button on the control panel. In the corner of the chamber, a tarp fell away, revealing a 6th body positioned with geometric precision. A woman in her 30s, peaceful expression, a small device on her chest playing a single note. "A sharp. The pattern is complete," Tyler announced. 9 points, 9 frequencies. C sharp, E, G sharp, B, F, A sharp, D, F sharp, and A. The perfect nonagon of resonance. "Shut it down," Kael shouted. Tyler laughed. "It's already active. You're standing in the focal point right now. In approximately 30 seconds, the acoustic convergence will reach critical intensity. Everyone in this chamber will experience total consciousness dissolution. You'll finally understand what Cross understood, that the mind is just a pattern of frequencies, and patterns can be rewritten." The chamber began to vibrate. The 9 devices played their notes simultaneously, and the sound didn't clash. It harmonized in a way that seemed to bypass the ears and resonate directly in Kael's skull. He could feel his thoughts beginning to scatter, memories becoming loose and unmoored. "Get everyone out," he ordered. The tactical team retreated, but Sarah stayed, pulling at Kael's arm. "David, come on!" But Kael couldn't move. The resonance had him locked in place, his body responding to frequencies he couldn't consciously process. Tyler stood at the control panel, arms spread wide, welcoming the dissolution. Kael's vision began to fragment. He saw his own memories playing out simultaneously. His childhood, his training with Cross, the day he arrested his mentor, the sleepless nights hunting the Chord Killer. All of it happening at once, the chronology dissolving into pure sensation. Then he remembered something Cross had said. "Resonance at the right frequency can shatter glass." With the last of his coherent thought, Kael drew his gun and fired, not at Tyler, but at the nearest speaker. The device exploded in a shower of sparks and plastic. The perfect harmony broke. The 9-frequency pattern became 8, and the resonance destabilized. The chamber's vibration shifted from convergent to chaotic, the acoustic waves interfering with each other instead of reinforcing. Tyler screamed as the pattern collapsed. The remaining 8 devices overloaded simultaneously, their circuits unable to handle the acoustic chaos. One by one, they exploded, filling the chamber with smoke and the shriek of dying electronics. The resonance stopped. Kael collapsed to his knees, his mind snapping back into singular focus. Sarah was beside him, helping him stand. Tyler lay unconscious by the control panel, overcome by the same acoustic chaos he'd tried to weaponize. 3 days later, Kael sat in Dr. Morris's office, recounting the events for what felt like the 100th time. The fugue states were real, Morris confirmed, reviewing his notes. Stress-induced dissociative episodes. During those periods, your subconscious mind was active and functional. You did visit the crime scenes. You did write analytical notes. Your brain was trying to solve the case, even when your conscious mind was too exhausted to function. And Tyler used that against me. He observed your patterns, yes. He knew about your visits to Cross because he was monitoring all of Cross's communications. He studied your handwriting, your deduction methods, and he manufactured evidence to make you believe you were fragmenting more severely than you actually were. The victims? Preliminary investigations suggest they were coerced, not willing participants, as Tyler claimed. We found Rohypnol in their systems. It was binding to proteins that wouldn't show up in our standard tox screens. He drugged them, positioned them, and played the notes as part of his resonance experiment. Kael stared at his hands. I visited Cross 6 times during fugue states. I don't remember any of it. Your subconscious was seeking answers from someone who understood the killer's mind. Cross trained you both. In a way, consulting him made sense, even if your conscious self would never have approved. Morris leaned forward. David, you need to understand that having fugue episodes doesn't make you complicit. You were being manipulated by 2 people who knew exactly how to exploit your condition. Cross said something during my last visit. He said there would be 1 more victim, and I'd find a final note in my handwriting. Was there? Kael pulled out his journal, opened it to the last entry. The handwriting was his. No doubt about it now. The note was dated the night before the final confrontation, written during a fugue state he didn't remember. It read, Final insight. The killer isn't building a weapon. He's building a prison. The resonance pattern is designed to trap consciousness, not destroy it. Whatever Tyler planned, he intended to lock our minds in an acoustic loop forever. Cross knew. Cross wanted this. End the pattern. Break the frequency. Remember, you're stronger than the fragments. You wrote that, Morris said softly. Your subconscious warning your conscious self. Even in a fugue state, some part of you was still protecting you. Kael closed the journal. Tyler's in custody. Cross is back in isolation. But I still have gaps. Hours of my life I'll never remember. The fugue episodes should decrease significantly now that your stress levels are lowering. But David, you need real rest. Weeks of it. Your brain needs time to heal. What if it happens again? What if I lose time and can't account for my actions? Then you'll have people around you who can verify where you were and what you did. Sarah, for instance. She's requesting to remain your partner specifically because of this case. That evening, Kael met Sarah at their usual bar. She slid a beer across to him. Medical leave approved? 6 weeks. Morris's orders. Good, you need it. She paused. What? I knew. Not the details, but I knew you were losing time. I saw the exhaustion. The moments when you'd seem confused about where you were. I should have said something sooner. Should have forced you to take a break. You couldn't have known it would escalate like this. Maybe. But I'm your partner. I should have protected you from yourself. She met his eyes. From now on, if I see you spiraling, I'm pulling the plug. Doesn't matter if you're in the middle of the biggest case of your career. Agreed? Kael managed a small smile. Agreed. Good. Now drink your beer and tell me you're going to spend the next 6 weeks doing absolutely nothing related to police work. I'm going to spend the next 6 weeks doing absolutely nothing related to police work. Liar. They both laughed, and for the first time in weeks, Kael felt something like peace. But that night, alone in his apartment, Kael sat at his desk with his journal open. He'd written one final entry, this one consciously, deliberately. Case closed. Tyler Reed in custody. Cross-contained. 6 victims, 6 families seeking justice. The Chord Killer symphony ends in silence, but questions remain. During my fugue states, I was someone else, someone more perceptive, more analytical, unburdened by doubt. That person solved the case while I was still stumbling in the dark. Was that person me? Or was I just the prison my consciousness built around my better self? Cross wanted me to believe I was fragmenting. Tyler wanted me to believe I was capable of murder. They were both wrong, but they were also both right about one thing. I've been at war with myself for years. The conscious mind that doubts and struggles, and the subconscious mind that sees clearly and acts decisively. Maybe integration isn't about eliminating one or the other. Maybe it's about learning to trust both. He closed the journal and placed it in his desk drawer next to the evidence bag containing the final note his fugue self had written. You're stronger than the fragments. Kael looked at those words for a long time. Then he turned off the light and went to bed. For the first time in months, he slept without dreams, without waking, without losing himself to the darkness. When he woke 8 hours later, the sun was streaming through his window, and he remembered every moment of the night before. No gaps, no lost time, just sleep. It was a start. But the case left marks that wouldn't fade. Kael still kept his journal, but now he dated each entry meticulously, noting the time in his mental state. If fugue episodes occurred again, he'd have a record. So far, with proper sleep and reduced stress, they hadn't returned. Sarah watched him carefully during their first week back, looking for signs of the old exhaustion. Kael appreciated her vigilance, even if he didn't say so. One afternoon, they caught a new case, a robbery gone wrong. Nothing like the complexity of the Chord Killer. As they drove to the scene, Sarah glanced at him. You seem different, more settled. I learned something during those 6 weeks, Kael said. I spent years thinking my conscious mind was what made me a good detective. The logic, the analysis, the step-by-step deductions. But during the fugue states, my subconscious was doing all that and more. It was making intuitive leaps my conscious mind would have questioned to death. So what's the lesson? That I need to trust my instincts more. Stop second-guessing every insight. My subconscious has been trying to help me for years. Maybe it's time I started listening. They worked the robbery case methodically, professionally. When a detail didn't add up, the angle of broken glass, the position of the dropped weapon, Kael followed his gut instead of dismissing the observation as unlikely. His instinct was right. The robbery was staged. Within 6 hours, they had the real perpetrator in custody. See? Sarah said as they filed the paperwork. You're still you, just better rested. That night, Kael added an entry to his journal. Case cleared. Instincts validated. The conscious and subconscious minds working in harmony instead of opposition. This is what integration actually means. He was about to close the journal when he noticed something odd. The handwriting on the last line seemed slightly different. The slant was sharper. The letters more compact. He stared at it for a long moment, his heart rate beginning to climb. Then he relaxed. Even if he had slipped into a fugue state for those final words, Even if his subconscious had briefly taken over to add that observation about integration, it didn't matter. The words were true, regardless of which part of him had written them. Kael closed the journal and smiled. "Good night," he said to the empty apartment, both parts of himself. And for the first time in his career, he slept soundly, knowing that whatever notes he might wake up to find in the morning, whether written by his conscious self or his subconscious protector, they would all be in service of the same goal: justice, truth, and finally, peace. The Chord Killer's symphony had ended, but Inspector David Kael's story, the story of a man learning to be whole, was just beginning.